You're listening to the Computer Repair Academy podcast, a show that's your go-to podcast for easy tech fixes, pro tricks, computer repair tips, and everything you need to keep your computer running smoothly. So if you're ready to upgrade your tech game, then let's dive in.
Welcome back, techies, self-proclaimed computer geeks, and those brave souls who swear they can fix their computer with nothing more than a butter knife and some hope. This is the Computer Repair Academy podcast, and I'm your host, Jeremy, here to help demystify the magical world of computer repair. Today's episode is all about the tools of the trade. That's right, we're talking about the gear, gadgets, and gizmos that make computer repair possible. I mean, sure, I can talk all day about how to fix your PC, but if you're trying to swap out a motherboard using a kitchen fork, you're probably going to end up making things worse. So if you've ever wondered what tools you really need to be a computer repair pro and which ones are just sitting in your toolbox for show, you're in the right place. We're also going to throw in some best practices for using those tools because nobody wants to be the guy who zaps their motherboard with static electricity and then wonders what went wrong. All right, let's jump in. Okay, so let's start with the essentials. These are the tools that every computer tech needs to have in their arsenal. Whether you're fixing a client's laptop or just trying to make sure your home PC doesn't sound like a jet engine every time you turn it on. And don't worry, none of these involve duct tape. Well, unless you're desperate. First up, we have the most obvious tool, the humble screwdriver, the unsung heroes of tech repair. Specifically, you'll want a set of precision screwdrivers. Why precision, you ask? Because those tiny screws in your laptop are not coming out with that rusty Phillips head you've got lying in the junk drawer. But Jeremy, I've got this big flathead screwdriver. Will that work? No, it won't. So get yourself a quality set of small screwdrivers. Phillips, flathead, Torx, the works. You'll use them for everything from opening up cases to gently prying out stubborn components. And trust me, you'll feel like a surgeon operating on your computer. Just, with less pressure. Next up, the anti-static wrist strap. Now, I know what you're thinking, Jeremy. That's just some tech nerd overkill that no one actually uses, right? Wrong! Static electricity can zap your computer components faster than you can say, oops, what happened? All it takes is one rogue spark, and suddenly your RAM is fried. With an anti-static wrist strap, you'll stay grounded, and your computer will stay safe. You simply clip it to your case or a grounded object, and bam, no more static shocks. But Jeremy, I don't feel any static. Trust me, your motherboard feels it, and it's crying on the inside. So do yourself a favor and strap up. If you don't have an anti-static strap and you're working inside a PC, just be sure to ground yourself by touching your metal case or desk before handling an electronic component. Now let's discuss the plastic pry tool, the wizard of opening up laptops and snapping out those delicate components without leaving a trail of destruction behind. You know that moment when you're trying to pop open a laptop case with your bare fingers, or even worse, a butter knife, and it sounds like you're about to break something? Yeah, that's where this little tool comes in. Using a plastic pry tool is like being a ninja, smooth, stealthy, and with minimal damage. Plus, you avoid cracking that shiny plastic casing or leaving scratch marks like a caveman who just discovered tools. All right, next is a must-have if you're dealing with overheating PCs. And it sounds really simple. Canned air or an air duster. If you've ever wondered why your computer sounds like a jet taking off, or why it suddenly turns off when you're halfway through a game, it might be overheating. If your PC has excessive dust or gunk in the fans, air vents, and internal components, your PC will not breathe or cool itself properly. Excessive heat is a computer's worst nightmare, especially laptops. Canned air or an electric air duster is such a trusty tool to have on your tech bench. It does absolute wonders for the internal component lifespan, and you should absolutely incorporate blowing out your PC into your normal PC maintenance process. Next up, the power supply tester. If you're dealing with hardware power issues, this is your go-to gadget. Whether you're checking a faulty power supply or testing voltage on internal components, a power supply tester is like your computer's doctor. It tells you if power is flowing where it's supposed to, the voltages to components, or even if something is about to go boom. It's not the most glamorous tool, but when you're troubleshooting why your PC isn't turning on, this little guy will save you from pulling out your hair. Now that we've covered the must-haves, let's talk about the non-essentials. Tools that aren't necessary, but they sure make life easier. Think of these as the luxury items in your computer repair toolkit. They won't break the bank, but once you have them, you'll wonder how you ever lived without them. Let's again touch on canned air. This stuff is magical. You pop open a PC, and what's the first thing you find? Dust. So much dust. It's like your computer has been secretly hoarding it for years. A few blasts of canned air, and you can clear out those fans, heat sinks, and every nook and cranny. And let's face it, it's kind of satisfying watching all that dust fly out like you're cleaning out cobwebs from an ancient tomb. This is such a game changer to prolong a computer's life. Next up, cable management tools. Now, I know some of you are out there with spaghetti messes inside your PC cases. And look, your computer isn't going to work any worse just because your cables are all over the place. But trust me, when you go in to upgrade something later and you can't even find the hard drive, you'll wish you'd organized. Velcro straps, zip ties, and even cable combs can keep things neat and make your PC look like it's fresh out of a tech showroom. Plus, airflow is better when your cables aren't choking your CPU. Okay, let me introduce you to the magnetic parts trays and pads. Have you ever dropped a tiny screw inside a computer case and watched it disappear into the void, never to be seen again? Yeah, I've been there too. That's where this little tray comes in handy. It holds all your screws and small parts in one place, magnetically, so you don't lose them. It's like having a screw babysitter. No more crawling around on the floor trying to find that one rogue screw. Now, where did that screw go? I swear it was right here. Now that we've covered all the tools you need, and some you just want, let's talk about best practices for using them, because having the right tools is only half the battle. You've got to know how to use them without turning your PC into a very expensive paperweight. First rule of PC repair: don't be a Hulk. Your components are delicate little creatures. You wouldn't believe how many people I've seen break a RAM stick because they were trying to jam it in. The trick is to use gentle pressure. If something's not fitting, take a deep breath, step back, and make sure you're aligning things correctly. Yeah, don't do that. Another big tip: label your cables, inside and out. I know, it sounds useless and tedious, but trust me, when you're knee-deep in a mess of wires trying to figure out which one goes where, you'll wish you had labeled them. A little tape and a Sharpie can save you hours of frustration. Is this the power cable or the display cable? Why are they all black? Am I colorblind? Keep your workspace organized. I know it's tempting to just dive in and start unscrewing things, but a clean, organized workspace makes everything go smoother. Lay out your tools, have your magnetic tray or pad ready, and keep those screws organized. It's like cooking. Everything runs smoother when you've got your ingredients in place. And for the love of tech, don't skip the anti-static strap. I know we covered it already, but it's that important. Don't be that person who finally gets their new SSD installed only to fry it with a rogue spark from your wool sweater. But Jeremy, what are the odds? Higher than you think, buddy? Higher than you think. All right, before we wrap things up, let's take a moment to laugh at some tool-related fails I've encountered over the years. Because let's be real, we've all probably done something ridiculous while fixing a computer. Once I had a guy who was trying to open his laptop using a butter knife. When I asked him why, he said, well, I didn't have a screwdriver, but this looked close enough. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. He ended up scratching the entire case and nearly cracked the screen. Pro tip: butter knives belong in the kitchen, not your toolbox. Another client was cleaning out their PC with canned air, which I love, of course, but they held the can upside down. And if you've ever done this, you know that cold air and liquid comes out, not just regular air. They ended up soaking their CPU while the PC was powered on, and it stopped working. Oops. Remember, folks, always power off your PC and hold the can upright unless you're going for that instant Arctic blast look. Last but not least, I had someone who couldn't get their PC to turn on after swapping out their own motherboard. After about 5 minutes of troubleshooting, I realized they had somehow wired the reset button to the onboard speaker pins, the power button was bent and wired to a ground pin, and the front USBs were just dangling loose. Basically, all the wiring was whacked. Every time they pressed the power button, the motherboard would chirp, a fan would spin, and it would cut off. Check your wiring, folks. It saves time and a lot of head scratching. All right, techies, that's it for today's episode on the tools of the trade. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro, having the right tools and knowing how to use them makes all the difference. Just remember, don't Hulk smash your components. Be sure to label your cables. It's silly, but use the anti-static strap. And lastly, leave the butter knife in the kitchen. Thanks for tuning in to the Computer Repair Academy podcast. As always, if you've got any questions, need help, or just want to share your funniest tech fails, hit us up. We're here to help and to laugh along with you when things go wrong. So, until next time, stay safe, stay grounded, and may all your PC repairs be smooth. This is Jeremy signing off. And remember, don't zap your motherboard. Seriously, just don't.
Thanks again for tuning in to the Computer Repair Academy podcast. Until next time, keep those PCs running smoothly.